thank you all for being here. Eric he was the love of my life. Back in 1991, I met him. I was with his sister Paula, and we went to, we lived in kind of a small town, not quite as small as Goodland, but we lived in a small town in Florida. And so we had to do our good shopping out of town. And so we were going to this town called Lakeland, and Paula said, "Hey, do you mind if we swing by and see my brother?" So I was like, "Sure." So we go, and it was instant attraction. I just thought he was so cute. And apparently, and I didn't realize this, there was just something about him. He had broken his nose the night before in a wrestling,
I did it.
You did
I
it?
did it.
Yeah. Joel did it. But his eyes weren't completely black yet, but apparently, and he was working in the school cafeteria. He had on sweatpants and a t-shirt. And, of course, working in a school cafeteria, you're supposed to be wearing a hairnet. And so he wore a do-rag. But there was just something about him that I was just smitten. So anytime that was my junior year. And so in high school, and he was in college, a junior in college. But anytime he came home, I would see him drive by and I would honk and wave, So a year later, I started dating him, and so the rest is history there. But anyways, Eric, he was, it's actually a joke between the two of us because I had never dated anyone very long. And, I had boyfriend every week, according to my mother. And so she said, "You'll never last 2 weeks." And so, and if you know me, I'm kind of stubborn. So we made it 2 weeks, and I was like, we made it 2 weeks. I was quite the sass. And so then she was like, "Well, you won't make it a month." And so, anyways, she kind of stopped after 6 weeks. And here we are, 32 years married, 34 years together. So, anyways, he was my best friend. Of course, I have other best friends, but he was the one that knew absolutely everything. He knew the good, the bad, the ugly, and he accepted it, and he put up with it. And Andrea is one of his sisters, his older sister, I should say.
A lot older.
Yeah, Eric was actually the oldest, but he and Andrea used to teach together at a school, and he had everybody convinced that Andrea was older than him. So it was quite funny. And so, but anyways, Andrea said he was blessed that you put up with him, and sometimes he was a rascal. And I said, it worked both ways, and so anyways, it was tough. I want to recognize the boys in the back, because these are guys that he just coached the last couple of years. And when we talk about his phrase, and I don't know if you guys ever saw his tattoo, but he's got old tattoo, but it's a basketball going through a net, and it says "Enter his courts with praise." And of course, he had lots of people tell him he took that out of context, and yes, he probably did. But it wasn't about the X's and O's for him. It was about the relationships that he built. And, we had lots of fights early in our marriage because I felt like he put his players or his students above me. And that one time that it was pretty heated argument, and that's when he said, "Susie, you don't understand, this is my ministry." And it was like, whoa, that was huge to me. And so then it was, how dare I complain about the time that he's investing He's doing God's work, you know? Might not be in a church, might not be a missionary, but he's doing God's work. He is, you know, preaching to, even if he's preaching basketball, how to set a pick, or, you know, of course, over the years, I've learned all the terms, because he would come home and say, oh yeah, he set a pick, or they did a pick and roll, and, you know, all that stuff, so I had to learn a lot. Thank goodness it wasn't football, because that's too many people to follow. And our boys played football, so that was kind of, I was like, one day, one of my boys, was it you three that did the X's and O's with Skittles?
Maybe.
Anyways, somebody did X's and O's with Skittles for me to help me understand better. So, anyways, but Eric was so passionate about coaching and about pouring into these young men's lives. And it just, I'm going to tell you, he has kids. He has a kid, his first year teaching in 1993. He taught at an inner city school, kind of small town, but inner city. And that was in the beginning when we had some of our fights, because he was spending so many and I shouldn't say fights, our arguments, but he spent so much time at the school, and he said, Susie, I would rather these boys be in the gym than on the street. And I was like, oh, good call. You know, most of these kids didn't have dads, and things like that. It was actually really hard for me too, because most of these boys were minority, and most of these boys thought of white women, very lowly of white women. And so I had to kind of earn my spot in their lives and everything with that. But one of these young men, which he's in his 40s now, so I really feel old, but one of these young men, he is now a big podcaster for the University of Miami, because we're Florida, you know, we're from Florida. And as a matter of fact, just recently, he was going to be going to the, was it the bowl game, the championship, whatever it was, John? The national champion, sorry. You can tell, I've been working on the farm for a few months. Anyways, he was going to the national championship, and Eric's brother, most of you know, Eric's brother Trent passed away in October, and that took a big trial on him. And Trent's son, little Trent, T2 we call him, that's you. Anyways, Eric called Devin and said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you get a t-shirt signed by one of the Hurricane players for my nephew? And so we just got it in the mail last week, 2 weeks ago. They got him an official jersey with the number 2 for Deuce. And it says his name, and it's signed by probably 60 players. Amazing. And Eric was so proud of that, so he could give that to his nephew. But anyways, Eric has built relationships all along. I'm gonna tell you, Lincoln, just, it was actually last Tuesday night. We have a boy working for us out at the farm, kind of helping out. And he told Eric, he said, Lincoln's transferring. And Eric was like, no, he's not, because we were getting ready to buy season tickets to go see Lincoln play at K-State. And Eric's like, and I said, you better text Lincoln and make sure before we buy these tickets. So we text Lincoln, and he said, are you transferring? And he said, no, Coach, it was a April Fool's joke. And so anyways, Eric was like, okay, you know. So anyways, but he was really looking forward to watching Lincoln. He had asked Brady to help with basketball camp and stuff like that. Deuce, Braylon, you guys meant so much to him. He loved that team. Not Braylon, Zach. I see you, Zach. He loved that team so much. First time he's ever gotten to go to state with any team, with Mikey Dahl and and Chase. He just absolutely loved what he did, and his passion made me passionate about it. I love to cook. I got to cook for the football team with Coach Mosier, and anyways, I am just so thankful that that was part of our life together, and we were looking forward to going to see our own grandkids play sports and things like that, going to Lincoln's games, going and seeing Brady, different things like that. He has gone too soon for me, but I hope that he at least will leave a legacy. One of the things that I'm gonna do is I'm raising money to help send kids to camp. So many kids can't afford camp, and so many camps are so expensive. So we're doing a GoFundMe and an account to help kids go to camp. One of the things, Eric's biggest thing was fundamentals, and especially in basketball. He loved football too, but especially in basketball. And he designed a ball years ago, and I'm trying to get my hands on it so we can replicate it. But he designed a ball with hand positions and just different things like that to help teach these kids with some drills and stuff like that. So anyways, please keep his legacy alive. You guys in the back, please remember Coach Connor. If you become coaches or players, whatever, remember the legacy that he leaves. And you younger coaches, Coach Stahl, Chase, just try to have the love and the passion that he had. I know there were many times, look, our boys did without a lot growing up. Number one, teaching and coaching isn't real lucrative. But not only that, we spent so much time going to games, and I actually homeschooled the boys 1 year so we could travel with his team. He had a small college coaching job, and we traveled with the team and things like that. And but anyways, I think he made a great influence. I have had people say, you moved so much. You know what, we moved so much, but we met so many amazing people. And that's one thing that he taught me, is think outside the box. There are lots of people that you can touch and influence, and then vice versa do you too. So who would like to speak for Eric?